This year marks the centenary of the end of the First World War. The armistice signed at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918 brought an end to 4 years of global conflict. This period saw rapid advances in technology, tactics, and strategy, and was also the introduction of modern chemical warfare. Chemical weapons weren't new at the time. In fact, ancient Greek sources refer to poisoned arrows. Ancient Chinese sources refer to poisonous smoke. Poison, smoke, and fire had been used across the world for millennia. And in the first month of the First World War, the French used tear gas-filled grenades against their German enemies. But it's the German response that was notable. They had created and industrially manufactured the first lethal gas weapons to be used en masse. And this was chlorine. Chlorine is a yellow-green heavy gas. It's heavier than air and can flow like a liquid. It's also very easy to dissolve in water, and it's because of this that it can be used as a weapon. It will dissolve in the watery lining of the eyes, the throat, and the lungs, and it will form hydrochloric acid, which will attack the tissue of these organs. It can render a victim blind, choking, and in sufficient quantity can be lethal in minutes through asphyxiation. The first use of chlorine as an offensive weapon was at Langemarck in Belgium at the Second Battle of Ypres in April 1915. With a favourable wind at their backs, German units lined up along their trenches with canisters of chlorine. They poured 168 tons of chlorine gas across no man's land towards the Allied trenches. The French and Algerian troops who were manning these trenches took to the parapets, expecting German soldiers to attack through what they thought was smoke. As the yellow-green mist, like a river, enveloped them, hundreds dropped to the floor, blinded, choking, drowning on dry land. The British would respond in kind, pouring chlorine over the fields at the Battle of Loos, again in Belgium, later in 1915. Chlorine would be the most widely used assault gas on all fronts for the remainder of the war. The experience of being attacked by chlorine gas is perhaps best related by the British war poet Wilfred Owen in his poem Dulce et decorum est. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through the sludge. Till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshod. All went lame, all blind. Drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of tired, outstripped 5 9s that dropped behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone was still yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, of vile incurable sores and innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie dulce et decorum est, pro patria more. Wilfred Owen was killed 1 week before the armistice. He was 25 years old.